Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Biggar in the Scottish Borders region, which some of you might know happens to be home to Scotland's oldest microbrewery. So we are of course going to look at Broughton Ales once again, and we're having a taste of one of their newer beers tonight. In fact, this one is the Dark and Cloudy, which is an Oatmeal Espresso Stout. It comes in at 4.4% and it should be quite nice. Now Broughton Ales are one of the breweries in Scotland that you'd more associate with the kind of traditional style of Scottish brewing and the sort of English real ale styles of beer rather than the more modern American craft beers. But these guys do the older styles of beer very, very nicely. I always enjoy the kind of big bready malt base that these beers have, so it's actually quite interesting to come to them once again after a wee while and try one of their newer beers, in fact, because they've been producing a couple of IPAs and blonde beers and things like that recently, which I also need to check out. So really looking forward to this one actually. And I've also cracked out my Broughton Ales glass once again, which they sent me with that box that they sent me early on in my beer tubing career, in fact. So thank you once again to Broughton Ales for providing the beers before and the glass for this video. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Broughton reviews I've done before. This must be review number 10 or so actually. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. You can go into the channel homepage of course and search for beer based on country, city or state. There's a whole geography based tagging system on the channel, so make sure you check out some other reviews as well. But let's crack on with Broughton Ales for the moment. So Broughton Brewery, as I've told you before, were founded back in 1979 by David Younger and James Collins in a former abattoir in the small village of Biggar, which is down in the Scottish Borders region. Now Broughton Ales, as I said, are regarded as the oldest Scottish microbrewery, or the first Scottish microbrewery I guess I would say, and back then they marketed themselves to customers looking for a craft beer experience as an alternative to the mass-produced lagers and export beers of the time. These guys were the first ones to kind of float the term craft beer in Scotland, but Collins and Younger released their first beer, which was the Green Mantle Ale, to great success, and the brewery became well known throughout Scotland because of this. And the beer was actually so popular that locals soon began to refer to the brewery as the Green Mantle Brewery, and this beer really is kind of considered a cult classic by the older generation of craft beer lovers in Scotland. People around my dad's age remember when that was introduced, and if you talk to people that are maybe around 50 or so, they really still quite enjoy that beer actually. But the Green Mantle Ale proved greatly successful, like I said, and they decided to introduce a few other beers after this. So this was the Old Jockey, which was the first one I reviewed actually from Broughton Ales. There was the Merlin Ale, and there was also the Scottish Oatmeal Stout. And each of these beers were named after a well-known character from the Scottish Borders region. So in 1995, the brewery underwent a change in ownership, and it was taken over by Gillis Litchfield, who introduced the moniker Beers with Character for a series of 10 bottled ales, and he basically wanted to increase the exports of the brewery, and these began in 1996, and the brewery has really been growing very steadily ever since then. And today they actually export to Italy, France, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Canada, the US and also Japan. And they also produce around, I think it's around 12 bottled beers they have. They've got 10 permanent casks and 15 different seasonal beers as well. They produce quite a few beers these days, which they've gradually built up over time. And like I said at the start of the video, they're kind of introducing some of the more sort of new wave styles, if you like. They've produced a blonde beer recently, which I still need to try, and they've also got a couple of IPAs as well. There's the 6.2% IPA, and I think there's one that's called the Real IPA or something like that too, that I need to try. So really looking forward to trying those in the future, but let's crack into this one just now. So like I mentioned to you, this guy is a 4.4% Oatmeal Espresso Stout. I do have the specs of the beer here. It's hopped with Fuggles, Phoenix and Wakatu, which obviously is a New Zealand hop, and it's got a malt base of pale, crystal, black, chocolate, malts and roasted barley as well. Sorry about that guys, had to restart the video there because I got into a bit of a coughing fit. But anyway, as you can see, this one has a slightly different artwork than is normal for Broughton Ales. It doesn't have the beer with character on it actually, which is unusual, but you can see quite nicely and presented modernly on this one. You can see the man with a horse on the back, and it tells you a little bit about the specs of the beer here as well. So it says, what to expect: Dark and Cloudy is a midnight black, medium bodied stout full of vanilla, espresso and oatmeal flavour, balanced against a backdrop of Wakatu and Phoenix hops. Each pint contains one smooth shot of espresso. Call it artisan, call it bespoke brewing, call it craft, we call it tradition. It tells you all the details on the beer here. It says the specialities in this: cold press espresso and pinhead oats. So should be quite nice. Plain bottle cap on this one of course, which is normal with Broughton Ales. 4.4% oatmeal espresso stout. Let's get stuck into this guy then and see how we get on. Really looking forward to this one. First Broughton beer I've had in quite a wee while actually. So a nice smoky opening on this one as we get it out and into the glass. You can smell that nice coffee note off it actually as I pour it out. But we'll set that down and I'll just bring up the lamp and let you see the exact colour of this one. It looks really nice actually. So if I hold it up to the light, it does have a nice ruby edge to it. In fact, it's a dark kind of ebony rosewood colour. There's a finger of a kind of solid, well it's actually fading away now, a solid kind of beigey tan coloured head on this one. Some bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. But just on moving it around a little bit, you can smell that kind of coffee note in this one, that espresso character. And there's a little bit of red fruity ester following it around as well. But let's look at it more closely. So yeah, when you go into this one, you get a nice kind of coffee bean note coming out of it. Some kind of roasted black malts in it as well. You can smell a little bit of that oatmeal in there, along with the coffee beans. And when you sugar it up, you start to get a kind of milky chocolate character out of it. You can pick up a wee bit of vanilla as well. Definitely an earthy hop presence as well, which will be the Fugels coming out, of course. You get even more of that coffee actually. Even more of that kind of espresso character when you sugar it up. But nice smooth earthy hops in this one. And a bit of red fruity ester. You get a little bit of figgy character coming out of this one actually. But really the nose is dominated by the coffee beans, the sort of cappuccino notes. And that nice kind of oatmeal-y character. Maybe a little bit of nuttiness in there as well actually with the chocolate and things. But it smells quite nice, so take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma that you get out of this beer. Broughton Ales always have quite an interesting aroma to them actually. You get a nice big complex aroma to these beers in fact. And it's surprising of course, when this is only 4.4%, it is remarkably low in alcohol, and the aroma that you get in this beer is quite complex, especially when you consider that low alcohol that it has. So yeah, let's get stuck into this beer then. This is the Dark and Cloudy, an oatmeal espresso stout from Broughton Ales down in Biggar here in Scotland. Slàinte. It's nice actually, really nicely done. So the first thing I'm noticing about this beer is how smooth it is. It's got a really nice, slightly creamy mouthfeel to it, but it works really well. It starts off quite wet, and then you can feel the sort of coffee bean flavours just kind of pushing their way out and giving you a little bit of bitterness on the malt base with this beer. Yeah, so the middle of your palate's just kind of blanketed with this sort of cereally kind of oatmeal character. It goes right across the middle of the tongue. You can get some of those roasted kind of coffee bean flavours just building on top of that. A bit of black malt almost in there too coming out, but there's some sweet chocolatey malts in the middle of the palate, which is nice. You can pick up a little bit of the vanilla and almost nutty flavours to this beer as well coming out there. But it's nice because the liquid is actually, I'm finding the liquid has a nice malty sweetness to it, and then you just start to get the coffee, the black malts, the more dry notes from that malt base coming out a wee bit later on. That's really nicely done that. It's got a good blend of flavours in it, this one. As you move out towards the edge of the palate, that's where you get these nice earthy hops. I'm really getting the Fugels coming out on this one. But as you go further forward, you get a bit more of a grassy character. Maybe slightly floral as well in the front corners of the palate, but definitely around the front curve of the tongue. It is more of a kind of grassy hop that's coming out of this one for me. Yeah, I would definitely stick with that. The earthiness, I think, spreads forward a bit as your mouth gets more and more used to the beer actually. But that's really nice. The sweetness I'm finding is building up a bit more. You get more of the vanilla and more of the milky chocolate out of this one as the flavour progresses. It's nicely done, and I wouldn't expect anything less from Broughton Ales actually. They're really good at using these kind of oatmeal and bready flavours in the beer, and they've done it again with this, and it complements the chocolate, the coffee beans and things really quite nicely. The coffee, I always like these kind of coffee beers. I've been getting more into them recently because I love the kind of smoothness that it gives you. It gives you a nice, something a little bit different from just kind of blasting the beer with black malt. It gives you that nice smooth flavour, and I really like it in this one. But yeah, there's a little bit of a red fruity ester to this one, but not too much. You can feel a little bit of that just behind the front curve of the tongue there. If anything, it's a very kind of light candied red fruit ester, but I'd say it really is, the fruity character in this one is very, very minimal. The centre of the palate really is dominated by the kind of oatmeal and then the sort of coffee bean flavours on top of that. It's really nicely done. There is a little bit of black malt in there, but I wouldn't say that the malt base in this one is kind of dry and bitter. It really is more about the smoothness, and it works really nicely actually. So if you get the chance, I would recommend that you try this beer. In the aftertaste you get more of the vanilla and a bit of the chocolatey flavour just sitting there, but you can feel that coffee flavour just sitting underneath that. And it works really nicely. You can taste the espresso that they've put in this, and the whole flavour of this blends together very nicely, and that's always what seems to be the case with these Broughton beers. Broughton beers are more about how the flavours blend together rather than being kind of punchy in one particular element, and they've hit that note right again with this one. It's quite cool when you're reviewing breweries and you start to see their kind of style of brewing. You can really feel that coming out again in this Broughton beer. So in terms of the mouthfeel, I'd say this one is mid-bodied. It's got a little bit of a creamy mouthfeel to it. It's more creamy than oily, although there is a little bit of oily character in there. Carbonation, I'd say, is quite smooth. There is a little bit of a prickle to it. Yeah, round the edges of the tongue you do get a little bit of a prickle from this beer, but it works quite well. The hops are quite smooth in this one. The malt base has a bit of sweetness and a bit of smoothness. There's a teeny little bit of bitterness from it as well, a little bit of the black malt coming out, but really it's more a smooth and kind of sweet malt base you're getting out of this one. And like I said, the fruity character in this one is quite minimal. In the aftertaste, the beer it's very, very smooth. It's those kind of smooth earthy hops that are lingering in there, and that nice malt base with a bit of sweetness and just a little bit of bitter character too. But overall, another very, very well done beer from Broughton Ales. I've really quite enjoyed this one. Again, it's always cool to return to this brewery and seeing what they're doing, so hopefully I can try their real IPA that they're doing, and also the blonde beer. I think those ones are the two that I still need to have a go at from these guys. So yeah, always cool to return to Broughton Ales. This one's the dark and cloudy. If you enjoy your kind of coffee stouts and things, I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy this beer. The oatmeal character is really nice as well, so it'll be local oatmeal they've put into this one. So if you want to try something that's local and Scottish, have a go with this guy and see how you get on. But once again, another really quite enjoyable beer from Broughton Ales. So I'm going to go away and enjoy the rest of this with my dad, but in the meantime, please get in touch and let me know your own thoughts on this beer and the brewery. Comment in the section below. But as always, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Make sure you go and check out some of the Broughton Ales from Biggar here in Scotland. Scotland's oldest microbrewery, and their beers are really quite enjoyable. They've got their little trademarks, like I said, their nice kind of bready malt base and a little bit of that. It's all just about how these beers blend together, so make sure you give these a go. Scotland's oldest microbrewery, Broughton Ales. Have a go with the dark and cloudy if you like your coffee stouts and things like that. It's Landry just now.